Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brian. Today we have a quick review video. A lot of folks have been asking about this, and I figured I'm going to bring it out now. We are taking a look at the Heavenhill 18-year. This is the most recent release in the Heritage Collection that Heavenhill's done. Kind of what seems like their version of the BTAC, although the lineup hasn't been all that diverse yet. 3 releases. First was a bourbon, 17 years old, cast strength. Then we had the 20-year corn whiskey, and now we're back with an 18-year small batch that comes in at 120 proof. Now, what we're going to do, I know there are a lot of people who say, well, how will it compare to the Heavenhill 17? I'm not comparing that to it. I wanted to figure out what I thought was the most closely related product. I did a short about this, but we'll go a little bit more long-winded. We are talking about the William Heavenhill 17-year because this is also small batched. It's 17 years, but we don't know how close in age it is, but it's also 120 proof. I feel like this is the closest matchup of products that we'll talk about. So let's go ahead and dive right on in. If you've done any tour or any of that at Heavenhill, you know that they have, I want to say, 50 different shapes and sizes of warehouses of which they store. And then in their little museum part, it does mention, as we know a lot of distilleries do, that different products, lines, age in different areas of the warehouse. So it should come as no surprise that they can come out with a myriad of these types of releases, and the profiles will be different from one another, but still classically Heavenhill profile because of these factors. I'm gonna go ahead and pour out the William Heavenhill 18 as well, and we'll get to comparing. So this does, just so we go ahead while this is airing out, we'll go ahead and read the 2024 release of the Heritage Collection. That's this 18-year small batch. Bottled without chill filtering, 120 proof. It's their 78% corn, 10% rye, 12% malted barley, and it's 133 barrels that were produced in December 2005, aged on the 3rd floor of Rickhouse 1I. Let's go and read about the William Heavenhill. So again, this was a late 2023 release. It's 32 barrels, so a lot smaller batch, each aged 17 years on the 1st floor of Rickhouse 1G. Again, bottled at 120 proof. I don't know if these are the same campuses, but we're talking about different rick houses here. Let's go ahead and jump into this Heavenhill 18. The first thing that I notice about the Heavenhill 18 is that the nose it's concentrated into a very straightforward, balanced, welcoming pocket. First thing I get, Fig Newtons, caramel. I get that kind of creamy Heavenhill nuttiness. It's not overly nutty, but it's definitely got a creamy nuttiness to it. Tiny bit of orange zest in there. Kind of a buttered pecan ice cream note in there. So it's got like a creamy sweetness to it, but then it has some mild, balanced sweet oak in there as well. It's a little bit funky. It's got a little tinge of that, but it's pretty controlled, pretty tame, stays pretty narrow. It's almost got this kind of sweeter floral, a little bit of tobacco going on. It's pleasant for sure, but it's not loud. It's not boisterous. For 120 proof, it is contained. It is well contained. Heavenhill, usual suspects. Let's go ahead and jump in on the palate. Woo, man, I feel like it's changed a little bit since I first had it. The palate is definitely the proof, for sure. It's got a lot of richness. It's very coating. Man, it's got a good amount of spice that hits on the front, but it dissipates as it goes, so it doesn't necessarily continue to stay spicy. Fruit and spice on the front of the palate. Some really pretty raspberry, some really nice cherry, a little bit tart cherry. You could kind of feel it tingling the tongue as it moves through the sip as well. It's got a little pepper nipping. It's got some cinnamon nipping, but these are super balanced. I mean, this is really well done in a really sugary and very oaky finish. Man, the oak definitely comes out, but it's not overly done. Like, I remember Heavenhill 27 having a really nice sugary sweetness, and it just teetered, like depending on the day that I had it, it teetered on the line of, is this too tannic? Is this too much? This doesn't do it. I feel like it's got a good amount of oak. It sits with you for a little bit. It's not too overdone, but it is definitely there. Loving the finish. You get a lot of that oak, kind of this Earl Grey, like bergamot type citrus thing that's going in there. A little bit of tobacco. It's not really leathery, but oak, tobacco in there as well. But the sugary fruits and the oak are really heavy in this, which is another reason why I think going to compare it to this William Heavenhill is good, because I thought that one was really fruit forward as well. So from my first experience, I thought that this Heavenhill 18 was more traditional Heavenhill profile, a little bit nutty, leans more on the caramels. Now that it's given some time in the bottle, you can see it's definitely been drank down a little bit, getting a lot more fruitiness to it, definitely a lot more flavor balance here. Let's go ahead and jump over to the William Heavenhill. Whew, man. For both being 120 proof, the William Heavenhill's nose is a lot more intense. It's a lot more viscous. Big toffee, big brown sugar, charred oak for sure. There's some vanilla in here. It's got a pocket of sweetness that where I thought this was the fruity one, the nose is definitely just very intense, charred, slightly smoked, gripping, oaky, also very balanced in the glass. This is incredibly inviting. I can't wait. Let's go ahead and dive into the palate on this one. Oh man, this is tough. Also raspberry, a little bit more raspberry preserved, a little bit more roasted nuts here. It's not overly nutty, maybe like the Heavenhill 18 was on the nose, but it's definitely got kind of a roasted nuttiness in there. Spices tingle a little bit more. It's definitely a bigger viscosity in there, and I think maybe a little bit more dark chocolate. It's got like a raspberry, vanilla caramel, espresso, pocket, truffly chocolates in there. Oak as well. But now that I'm revisiting this compared to the Heavenhill 18 with a little bit more time, the oak is softer in here. Definitely allows the chocolate, the spice, all that to kick through a little bit more than the oak. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I'm changing up my script here. And I don't exactly mind it because I think it shows you how things change over time. When I first opened this William Heavenhill 17, it was a lot of fruitiness. I mean, it had like a candied fruitiness that almost turned me off to it. At very first sip, when I first popped it open, I said, I don't know that I like this that much. I like the William Heavenhill 15 a little bit more. And I thought about bringing it out in this comparison, but again, I don't really think it's fair. Really great flavor pocket, but it's 109 proof, so I feel like, you lose a little bit something there. If you really want to hear those comparisons, let me know down in the comments below. Coming back to the William Heavenhill 17 now, after some time, after some revisits, the vanilla chocolate toffee profile is definitely more loud than the raspberry fruit notes I might find in there, and a little bit more than the oak, which is nice. I mean, if you want some older whiskey, but you don't necessarily want it to be oak dominant, this William Heavenhill 17 is definitely going to give you a profile like that. Go back one more time. This Heavenhill 18 will close up. Man, this Heavenhill 18 is pretty. It is a pretty whiskey. Now I'm a little bit mad that I don't have the 17 to compare it to, because the 17 was just very big, different. And while I still agree with my first thoughts that this Heavenhill 18 is the flavor pocket, like a classic Heavenhill flavor pocket, I still stand by that. But man, is it tasty. And so the why I struggle with this too is because with it being kind of a classic Heavenhill profile, I feel this doesn't, I feel like it drinks very soft, it drinks very elegant, very easy. And because it has the creamy nuttiness that's definitely in that mid palate, this isn't all that unfamiliar to some Elijah Craig barrel proofs that I've had, like some store picks. It's like a softer, if whatever Elijah Craig batch product that they've done that's been more on the lower end and proof and softness, could be similar here. I still think the Elijah Craig barrel proofs are a little bit more rough around the edges, but this one is just kind of plays it safe, it plays it tame, and for being the retail price that it is, being the secondary price that it is, I think that hurts it a little bit. So for as much as I enjoy it, what this really makes me think of is like when gosh, this nose is so good. What this really makes me remember and think of is that when I first had the William Heavenhill 17, I still argue that I'm in the camp that the William Heavenhill 15-year, 109 proof, is still a better bottle than the 17. Now, while the 17 kicks up the proof, kicks up the viscosity, I feel like I'd have to do another side-by-side to really see which one would come out on top because their flavor profiles are a little bit different. But going back to this Heavenhill 18, I feel like everything it offers, great flavor, really beautiful. But if I'm grabbing well-aged Heavenhill products, I may still argue that the William Heavenhill 15-year is the best bottle and value for what it is. I think that even if one of these two were to score higher, I don't think that its jump in a point or two on the score is going to make up for the fact that it's so much more accessible price-wise to come across the 15. Now, it's not at retail necessarily, but if you're talking about secondary pricing, the William Heavenhill 15, the William Heavenhill 15 is definitely going to be the most accessible price point of those. And I think get you the most bang for your buck flavor-wise. However, this Heavenhill 18 has a great showing. It is a great example of well-done, well-aged Heavenhill whiskey. And if you're into that, you're going to be into it. Going back to the William Heavenhill 17-year, I mean, if oak integration is your jam and you like viscosity, you like the barrel char, I feel like I've had older pirate bottle Elijah Craig barrel proofs like this. Man, this William Heavenhill 17 delivers. It has got great flavor. Depending on what you're looking for, I feel like if you want a little bit of fruit with this nice sugar browning pocket, charred wood, oak integrated, you're going to gravitate towards this, especially if you like mouthfeel, if you like viscosity. If you just want classic profile, drinks really well, elegant, the Heavenhill 18 is going to be for you, but no, for as beautiful as the Heavenhill 18 is, and it's got that kind of softer quality, the fact that it's got that overly creamy profile to it, and it's lacking some of the viscosity about the William Heavenhill 17, I think I may still personally lean towards the William Heavenhill 17 for me. I do love the oak here. I like the showcase of like the cleaner fruits that the Heavenhill 18 has. This is really, really tough. I wish that I could marry these two together. And honestly, if I had it here, now I'm kind of going back on myself because I wish that I had the Heavenhill 17 here because I almost wonder if it would be a good marriage of the two of these. Thanks as always for tuning into another video, guys. Hope it was insightful, hope it was informational, and hope you all enjoyed, and hope it helps you make a decision on some of these older Heavenhill products. If you guys have had any of these, I'd love to hear what your all's thoughts have been down below, and if you're interested in trying any of these, I would love to hear what your thoughts are down below. Thanks as always for tuning into another video, you guys. Until next time, we'll see you all later.